Have you ever spent hours studying for a test, feeling like you've really crammed it all in, only to have it all vanish from your brain a week later? Yeah, we've all been there. Today, we're digging into the book Super Learner to show you how to stop using brute force and start studying with a real strategy.
So let me tell you about the author, Ralph. He wasn't some kind of natural-born genius, not at all. He was, by his own admission, a pretty average student. So how on earth did he end up getting into Oxford University and actually doing well? Well, he didn't suddenly get smarter. He just discovered a secret. Learning isn't something you're born with, it's a skill you can master.
And really, this is what it all boils down to. On one side, you've got rote memorization. You know, the endless rereading, the highlighting till the page is yellow, the painful cram sessions. And on the other side, you have skillful learning, a strategic, efficient, and honestly, a much less painful approach. We're here to swap the old way for the new.
Okay, so first things first. We have to tackle the single biggest roadblock to learning effectively, and it's all in our heads. It's this myth that you're either born smart or you're not.
This idea right here completely reframes the entire challenge. The book makes a powerful point. Your success in school, or anywhere else, isn't about some fixed IQ score. Learning is a skill, and just like any other skill, you can practice it, you can improve it, and you can eventually master it.
So if it's not just about being smart, then what does high performance in learning actually look like? Well, the book breaks it down into this really simple but honestly mind-blowing formula.
Here it is. Your performance isn't just your knowledge. It's your knowledge multiplied by your skill in learning and applying it. You know that person in your class who never seemed to study but always aced the test? They weren't necessarily smarter than you. They were just more skillful learners.
And this is a perfect way to think about it. Learning is like a sport. You wouldn't just tell a basketball player to try harder without teaching them how to shoot a free throw, right? It's the same with studying. Trying to learn by just forcing facts into your brain is like trying to lift a heavy weight with your back instead of your legs. A good strategy lets you do way more with a lot less effort.
All right, so you're probably wondering, what are these game-changing strategies? The book is packed with them, but we've boiled it all down to the 3 most powerful techniques that you can start using, like, today.
That's right, just 3. If you can master these, you can fundamentally change your results and probably cut your study time in half. Seriously. So, let's jump into the first one.
Technique number 1 is called active previewing. Now, before you dive in and start reading a chapter word for word, just spend a couple of minutes scanning it. Look at the title, the headings, check out any pictures or diagrams, and read the summary at the end. What this does is it creates a kind of mental map in your brain. It's like looking at the map of a new city before you start wandering the streets. You build a framework, you get a little curious, and then when you actually start reading, your brain already knows where to file all that new information.
And now we come to what is maybe the most important technique of all. If you remember one thing, make it this. Learning isn't about getting information into your head, it's about being able to get it out.
This is the huge difference between passive rereading and something called active recall. Rereading feels productive, doesn't it? But it often just creates an illusion of knowing. You recognize the words on the page, so you think you've got it down. Active recall, on the other hand, is when you close the book, put your notes away, and you force your brain to retrieve the information. Try to explain the concept out loud to an empty room, or scribble down a summary from memory. Yeah, it feels harder, but that struggle is what actually forges strong neural connections. It makes the memory stick.
But here's the thing. Even with active recall, our brains are literally designed to forget stuff. It's something called the forgetting curve. We lose new information super fast if we don't use it. Our third technique is designed to fight this curve head-on, and it's all about timing.
And that technique is spaced repetition. So instead of cramming for hours, you review the material in really short bursts, but over longer and longer intervals. So maybe you review a new concept the next day, then again in 2 days, then maybe a week later, and then a month after that. Every time you pull that memory back right as you're about to forget it, you're sending a powerful signal to your brain that says, hey, this is important, keep it. And that's how you lock it into your long-term memory.
Okay, so we have our 3 core techniques. Now, let's talk about how to put them into practice and upgrade 2 of the most common study activities there are, taking notes and prepping for exams.
Let's be real. For most of us, taking notes just means writing down what the teacher or the textbook says word for word. The author argues this is one of the least effective things you can do. It's totally passive. You're a scribe, not a learner.
So, you need to make your note-taking an active process. Instead of just listing facts, stop and think about how they connect to each other. Even better, try drawing a mind map. Our brains are visual, and drawing those connections literally forces you to process the information on a much deeper level. The goal here is synthesis, not just transcription.
And when it comes to exams, stop thinking about them as just a test of what you know. Think of an exam like a performance. First, you have to know the rules of the game. What's the format? How is it scored? Then, the best way to practice is to use past papers. But don't save them for the very end. Use them early and often. It's the ultimate form of active recall, and every mistake you make and analyze shows you exactly where you need to focus your energy.
And finally, you can have all the best techniques and strategies in the world, but if your mindset isn't right, you're still going to struggle. This last part is all about overcoming those psychological hurdles that get in our way.
You know what the biggest hurdle is for most people? Procrastination. We look at some huge, intimidating task on our to-do list like write 10-page essay, and our brain just shuts down in panic. The solution? Break it down into ridiculously small steps. Don't put write essay on your list. Put write one sentence, or find one good source. It sounds silly, but once you take that tiny first step, momentum starts to build and takes over.
And this really is the foundation for everything we've talked about, developing a growth mindset. It means that when you struggle with something, you don't think, I'm just bad at this. Instead, you think, okay, my current method isn't working. I need to try a new strategy. It's about seeing challenges not as a final verdict on your intelligence, but as an opportunity to get better. And that, right there, is the secret to becoming a super learner.
So let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways? First, remember that learning is a skill, and you can absolutely master it. Second, make active recall your go-to tool. Always be testing yourself. Third, fight that forgetting curve by spacing out your reviews. And finally, whenever you feel overwhelmed, just break those huge, scary tasks down into tiny, manageable steps.
And that brings us to one last question for you to think about. When you look back at your school years, what was the biggest thing that held you back? Was it procrastination? Was it exam anxiety? Or was it just feeling like you weren't smart enough for a certain subject? Thinking about that is really the first step to applying these new, much smarter strategies to whatever you're learning next.